Yeah, so we have done a long way in Microsoft Sentinel from being a SIEM to a modern SIEM with a great SOAR capabilities. And in this webinar, we're going to focus on the areas of automation. We're going to start with a quick overview of what we have in SOAR, in particular in automation today, showing you the main features that we have. And then I'm going to go to a live demo, presenting you a full scenario that utilizes all the features that we just released and have had before, and also teach you some cool tips and tricks, and maybe even answer many of your questions if you have the time. So let's start. So, well, if you are here in this session, we don't need to tell you how many challenges the SOC faces today. There are so many alerts from so different security products and even not security products in the incident queue. And the organizations keep evolving and have more infrastructures and systems that they need to monitor and make sure are safe. There are so many different tools and solutions that the analysts use today for investigation and for triaging. And the process that the analyst needs to go when investigating an incident is becoming more and more complicated and involving so many different tools. So skilled personnel are hard to find, and analysts needs to be so skilled because of all of these issues. And the SOC becomes an expensive and a challenging thing to handle and manage. So even if you have a great SIEM with the greatest coverage that cover all the things you want to protect, you still need something else that will help you to handle all of this scale of threats and challenges. And this is why we believe in Sentinel that you also need great security orchestration, automation, and response tools. And the team I'm part of is looking to help you to manage, triage, investigate, and resolve incidents effectively, and letting your analysts focus on what matters most. So everything that can happen automatically behind the scenes, any heavy lifting that we can do for you, or you can program to make happen behind the scenes, will happen. And then the analyst will focus on the hard and complicated incidents and on the manual things that really needs your attention. So there are many things that has to do with SOAR today, and we cover many of them in Sentinel. If it's AI-powered incident response, if it's collaboration and case management, integrated threat intelligence, dashboards and reporting, all of those are capabilities that we can talk about in different sessions, but today we're going to focus mainly on smart automation workflows and the features that relate to them today in Microsoft Sentinel. So what do we have under these automation workflows? So last year, we introduced automation rules. This is the platform in our portal, in our Sentinel experience, that allows you to centrally manage automations around incident response. It's the place where you can create ordered workflows. Each one of them has a trigger, conditions, and actions. These triggers are currently when incident is created, and this month, we're going to speak about it soon, is also incident updated. So you can automate the whole incident process from when it started to when it's updated and closed. These workflows can also trigger playbooks, which we're going to speak in a second. These triggers will also allows you to run in a specific order and to run multiple actions with the same rule. And what is really special about automation rules that are so simple and so easy to configure? You don't need to know any code. You don't need to know any API. You can just make them from the portal experience of Microsoft Sentinel, or of course from our API if you prefer that as well. The second pillar of automation capabilities is playbooks. Whenever you need the external logic, the external products to interact with, the more complex logic and integrations, you can use playbooks. And actually, when you leverage Sentinel playbooks, you actually leverage Azure Logic Apps, which is a very scaled and robust platform that serves many other business verticals as well. So you get a chance to use a very reliable platform that runs billions of actions every day. It gives you the powerful Logic Apps Designer where you can create your own logic with simple drag and drop boxes of actions and triggers. We did a great work in the last year to introduce a lot of security content into it as well. So you can utilize the 400 plus connectors for any business workflows with the specific security-oriented workflow actions and triggers. These playbooks can run automatically from automation rules or manually on demand while the analyst is investigating or triaging the incident. So, as I said, out-of-the-box content is also there. We know that while you want the tools to configure in customers the playbooks and the automation rules for your own needs, our customers also need out-of-the-box content, which will be just out there, and in few clicks will allow you to enable any security scenario that you need. And this is why we're working to create and deliver more and more integrations to the most demandful security products out there. And we already have more than 250 playbooks, and the list is growing for enrichment, sync, notification, response, and other scenarios that you can deploy in few clicks and just start using them. You can use the new playbook templates gallery in Portal to deploy this bunch of onboarding playbooks, or you can use the Content Hub, which is the marketplace of Sentinel, for exploring more content packages, including playbooks as well for many other products. Just released or going to release this month, new exciting features. Some of them are update trigger, so you can now will be able to create automation rules also when the incident is updated. For example, when a field changes such as status, or when an order is assigned, when an alert is added, etc. And then run a playbook or do the built-in actions. You can run playbooks on demand on incidents from Portal. And you can leverage Logic Apps Standard, which is the new powerful version of Logic Apps with a new designer, with new powerful features such as virtual network, and running it from everywhere and testing it from a Visual Studio and much more. This is also currently public preview. We're going to demonstrate the first two in this demo right away. So now let's see the features in Portal live. So I'm going to share my other screen. So before we start the real scenario, let's go over the features that we have currently in Microsoft Sentinel around automation, some of them at least. So looking on the menu of Microsoft Sentinel, you can see here the automation in the side menu. And here you can find automation rules. So as you can see, I have a bunch of rules here. They are ordered, and I can simply drag and drop and change the order as well. And each one of these rules is taking care of a different scenario. It can run on different analytic rules and run so many different actions. When I go to active playbooks, I can see all the playbooks that I have in my environment that I deployed and created before, and I can manage them from here, from a central place. And in playbook templates, this is the place where I can see out-of-the-box content that, just a second, I'm going to connect to my account, out-of-the-box content that is ready to deploy in a few clicks. Let it load in a second. While this is loading, I will show you also another capability that we have in automation. When the analyst is working on an incident, they can now also run a playbook on demand. Right-click on the incident, or from the action menu, you can see Run Playbook, and from there trigger a new playbook right on this incident. And we're going to see it live in a few seconds in the actual demo. Going back to the playbooks templates gallery, which is now showing up. Here you can see a bunch of playbooks that you can just deploy in few clicks. For example, here you can block an IP in Palo Alto PAN-OS. You can see here the description of the playbook, which connectors are in use, if there are any prerequisites you need to do before deployment. You can see your screenshots showing you the value of this playbook. For example, here you can see the card that you're going to see in your teams when this playbook will be launched. And also you can see how the Logic Apps Designer will look like after you deploy it. And you can go with few clicks and create this playbook right away from here. There are different tags here for each type of playbook. And as I said, the full list of playbooks can be found under Content Hub here, where you can find content packages of even more content. So now to begin our demo, I'm going to show you what we pre-planned here and what we prepared before. So in our scenario...
Sorry to interrupt. As you're going through your demo, can you please zoom in a little?
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
Is it better? Hope it's better.
Yes.
Perfect. So in our demo, we're going to demonstrate a scenario of a brute force attack. And we prepared before, as our automation engineers in the SOC, an automation rule which does the initial investigation. And what this automation rule is doing, whenever a new incident is created, and now we're going to work on all the incidents, no conditions, no specific conditions are attached here. We're going to run 3 playbooks. The first playbook is going to send a Teams adaptive card to the SOC Teams channel, which will inform the SOC that there is a new incident. We're going to see it right away. Then another playbook will run and get a virus total IP report to make sure that the analyst that will explore the incident will see right away a full report about this IP as it is found from virus total. Then we also show a geo IP enrichment and show on the incident if this where is this IP located in the world, and also tag the location to the incidents. All of those, these 2 are pre-enrichments for the incident. This one is a notification. So I didn't even start to work on the incident, and right away these things will happen behind the scenes. So now that we know the details before, I think we can start and see what happens in the real SOC. So I'm going to be the tier 1 analyst. And in my SOC, I'm going to go to my SOC team channel. I'm going to see a new card about a new Microsoft Sentinel incident. I can already see from here that this incident is a brute force attack. Okay, this is probably something I need to look more. And if it was something that I know that it can be quickly triaged and maybe want to close the incident from here or change the severity if I'm already familiar with it. But in this case, I'm not so sure what's happening here, and I better get a better look from Sentinel. So let me click on the link and right away go to the incident in Sentinel. Yeah, so I can see the incident, and now let's see what kind of details I can see here. So generally, I can see that it's a brute force attack. I see that there are some entities here, URLs, IPs, accounts, hosts. I can see the tactics and techniques, and I think I need to explore some more details. I see here that in the tags, it was already tagged with the location somewhere in the Netherlands. I don't think that our company works there, so something here is suspicious. And I already see there are a few comments here, so let's go to the comments and see what the playbook's done for me before I went to this incident. I can see the virus total report. I can see that the community indicated that this IP is malicious. I can even see that if I want, I can see the full logs in log analytics, but I think in this point it's enough. It's probably malicious. And here I can see the full geo IP report that tells me that, yeah, this is in the Netherlands. Well, this is not where I'm used to see this IP from, or my company employees from. So I think now I need some better investigation. So you know what? Let's gather some more information. So I'm going to run a few playbooks here to retrieve some more enrichments. So here I can see the playbooks that I'm able to run on this incident. I have a bunch of them, and I already, before that, I marked as favorites the playbooks that I usually use in my investigations. So first of all, let's gather some risky user report from identity protection. to gather some more information. And while it is triggering and bringing more information, I would also like to add this IP to the watch list, which helps me to keep in mind what are the IPs that came up in such incidents. So I'm going to run this report as well, this playbook as well, and add the IP to the watch list. Now, after my playbooks were running successfully, I can refresh here and see the new info that was gathered. And yeah, I can see that the involved account in this incident was already marked as already configured as compromised, and the risk level is high. Okay, in this point, I think there is no doubt that something needs to be investigated here. I feel that I need to escalate this incident to a higher tier than I have to gather some more insights and to take some more decisions. So I think that Benjamin today is in shift. Let's find him in here and mark Benji as our tier 2 analyst that will investigate it. Okay, so now when Benji is now the new assignee of this incident as tier 2. Benji?
Hi everyone. So Benji is in shift, and Benji is now getting, thanks to the new possibility inside of the Microsoft Sentinel that you will be able to see in a couple of weeks inside of your environments, the update trigger. So as soon as Lior assigned this incident to me, I'm getting notification thanks to adaptive cards, Teams adaptive cards inside of the Microsoft Teams in the chat message saying that there is a new Microsoft Sentinel incident assigned to me. Then I have the incident name, just some basic details about it. I can see the severity of it, tactics, some of the description that is provided. And the really great thing is that I already have who updated, so who assigned this incident to me. So if I have any issues later on to understand why somebody assigned to me, I easily can ping Lior and asking, hey, what is the issue? Is there anything else that you need maybe to share with me? Because I already know who shared. And also thanks to, because I'm tier 2, maybe I already had from different tier 1 some similar incident that happened to me. I also have options to automatically close incident if needed. So if I already know that there is something happening in the background and this is benign positive, so there is some testing happening in the background, I can close it. Or if I have any information about changing the severity, I can do it like if I already know from different tier 1 analysts that this is actually this IP address is true positive, I will mark it automatically. But before doing any of it, I want to find out more information about the incident. And here I have the link to the incident itself. So that I can go and analyze to see what tier 1 had done, what are additional information that maybe can help me to decide what to do with this specific incident. So I will come to the incident and I will check some of the information, like what are the entities, maybe even to go and visit the entity page just to make sure who is the person in the background. I can see the tags. And I can see here the city and country, and immediately for me this can be a small red light because we don't have users there, but somebody can go on vacation or visit family or anything around it. But also what I can do is to check the comments. So I will go to the comments and here I will see what is about this user. So I can see that the risk level is pretty high. So this is another flag for me. I can see information from the GeoIP as a tagged additional flag that we already mentioned. And the third flag is that we already have IP address that is marked by 10 users malicious. So I probably want to do some of the things on this user, and I need to decide what I need to do. And do I want to do it manually or using the automation? And in this case, I will be using the power of the automation. Since I'm working with some of the incidents all day, I already have some of the favorite playbooks that I'm running all the time. And that is the possibility with the manual incident trigger, that you can always mark your favorite incidents so that you can come and easily find any of your incidents that are your top ones. But we can use the search to find any other from it, or we can search for a plan, a resource group, where whatever fits us the best. What I can also do is check the runs and to see what is happening. So Lior already run a few of them, and I can see success, and I can see here failed. This is additional information for me so that I can see what is happening in the background with the playbook itself, why it is failing, so that I can troubleshoot and work on it. And this is like really nice feature, the runs, so that we can see what ran, what failed. And now I can go maybe after the triage to view runs and understand why this additional playbook had failed. To understand it more. I will also check, and this one is add IP to the watch list. While it is important to have it in the watch list, I can do it manually, but there are more important things that I need to do now. I can do it later on. So what I need to do now is go back to my runs incidents and do some of the preemptive things on my user. So what I want to do first is to confirm user as a risky, and I will run it. Just so that we have confirmation it is risk user. Then I want to add this IP to the entity named location, and also to a watch list called named location. So if I have this IP address, I have conditional access policy inside of my Azure AD to block access from these specific IPs that are inside of this named location that I'm using. So in this case, it will automatically block any additional try of sign in if the user is compromised already. So that is one more thing to do from my side. Then I can choose, do I want to reset Azure AD password and run it so that we reset Azure AD password. Then if the password is generated and user has a manager will get an email with the temporary password so that they can go and recover the email if we think that it is compromised. Or we can also block Azure AD user. So I cannot see block here on the list, and I will search for block, and I don't see it on my list. And I want to block this Azure AD user because it is compromised. So I will need to deploy this additional playbook, and we will do it from the playbook templates in a second. But before I go to that part, I will first want to isolate this IP from various of my environments. So first of all, I'm using on-prem Palo Alto firewall. So here I will be searching for my Palo Alto. So here it is, and I will click on run. Then I need also to isolate it in Azure Firewall. So additional my favorites. So I can search again for it, or I can just find it and add to block IP group. And also I'm isolating, so on my Azure Firewall, I'm isolating on my local firewall, on-prem firewall, but also I have those roaming users who are not using VPN. They are traveling all around, and I want to isolate also all the connections from their side. And I will be using Microsoft Defender for endpoint and IP indicator. So I will add this IP address to a list of indicators inside of Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So even though if people are outside of my firewalls, that I'm calm, knowing like even if they are outside, I'm isolating this IP as well on the Microsoft Defender for endpoint. This is the list that I have already in this kind of situations, but I also have that block Azure AD user that I want to do. And how to do it is actually to go to our environment, go to automation, playbook templates, and we will search here for block AAD user incident. First thing that I want to read is the description to know with what I'm working on. Then I will see the connectors. Post-deployment steps. Okay, so I need to assign specific permissions, APIs, and authorize the connections after it. Okay, because I need to grant this APIs, maybe I want to go to the GitHub and to check this specific playbook. So I will open it in my new tab. While it is opening, let's create our playbook. So here we are choosing our subscription, the resource group, the region based on the resource group, playbook name. So we can choose what we already have. But like if we are having some naming convention that we are using internally, we can always update it. And also, if this is really important playbook for you, you can even enable diagnostic logs. So with enabling these diagnostic logs, it will send information to Azure Diagnostic. And if you have enabled Azure Diagnostics inside of Microsoft Sentinel, it will go to Microsoft Sentinel as environment and we will be able to query it. So it will go to our log analytics workspace, CyberSec SOC. In my case, so that I can go and literally, if it fails, if it runs, I can do like all different kind of checkups on this playbook because it is really important playbooks for us. We can enable it from here, or we can enable it once when it is deployed, and I will show also once when it is deployed. Here I have the list of the connections and what will be configured, or I can easily just choose existing ones. From Microsoft Sentinel, we will be using the managed identity, what is recommended. And Office 365, I have my notification service. In this case, I create and continue to designer. And now this one will be deploying. While it is deploying, I will go back to my block Azure AD user just to check what are my prerequisites. None. Okay, I need to assign different kind of permissions. So first one is Sentinel responder. Because it needs to add the comments after the run to say that a user is blocked or not. So for that, it needs Sentinel responder. Then, because we are using the managed identity, it will need a specific API permissions to run. And I will also need to make sure that Azure AD and Office 365 Autologic app connections are authorized. First, what I will do is I will copy this PowerShell command. And I will paste it inside of my notepad. Okay. Let's go back to our Azure AD. First, we need to authorize a few connections, make sure that it is authorized, and we can see here I already chose, so it is already authorized. If I want to change, I can change to any or add a new connection. Under here, we need to check the Outlook one as well. So if we have the manager, and here is send email to manager containing the information about the user. Okay, it is authorized. So that is what we need to do for now. So the second part is we need to publish some of the permissions. So the first one is that PowerShell with API. So we will need to copy this object IDs to our notepad. Where it went, here it is. And then we need our PowerShell. So the first thing that we will need to do is install module Azure AD and import module Azure AD so that we install it on our system and import it to our PowerShell session. Because I already have that done, what I need to do is to connect to Azure AD. Now it will pop up that I need to sign in. And here it is. And the most important step, nothing without multi-factor authentication. So now I'm connected to my environment, and what I need to do is to run this PowerShell command. And let me choose the correct PowerShell window, run. And the system will automatically assign all the API permissions. Of course, the user who is performing this, in this case, I'm global admin, and needs to have the permissions to assign these API permissions to manage identity. So in this case, API permissions are assigned, and we are done with that step. And we also need to assign Sentinel responder. So we click on Azure permissions, add Azure role, resource group. I will be doing on my resource group where Sentinel is, and I will be searching for Sentinel. And here is the responder one. Save. Now I will go back just to make sure. So done, done, done. And what is for me left is just go back to my incident, actions, run playbook. I need to refresh because I just deployed the new one. And let's search for block now. Now we have our block Azure AD user incident, run, so that we block our Azure AD user. And we also can go back to our runs and make sure that everything is successful. Whatever is failed, to go back and check while failed. And here is the block Azure AD user incident is successful. And if we go check, our user is actually blocked. So this is what I wanted to do, like from that investigation, pain, etc. Now I can say like, okay, this incident, we are done with it. We isolated user, everything that was from my personally, what I needed to do is done. Now, if we have tier 3, we can escalate it to tier 3. We need to document what happened, make sure that user is enabled later on, etc. And once when we are finished with all the processes that we need, we'll be closing our incident. In this case, it will be true positive. We'll be writing comment, really important, and applying the changes. So yeah, I already didn't refresh everything. So this is part from the investigation and the demo, how to use and utilize some of these things. The other thing that we need to think about, as I mentioned, when we were deploying playbooks, is the health of the same and how to monitor them. And we can do it when we are deploying, or when it is deployed, we have diagnostic settings inside of the playbook itself. And we can here add diagnostic settings and add our diagnostic settings. So here we'll be adding the name. So let's say Sentinel. I will be sending all logs, and where I want to send. In this case, it is log analytics, and it will send all the diagnostic settings to me. Or we can deploy the playbook, the workbook itself, that is called Playbook Health. Okay. Playbook's health monitoring. And inside of it, we'll be getting more information in regards to our playbooks, what was done, how many times it was run, do we have any fails, etc. And it is really important that we get all the necessary information so that we know what we need to do with our data. So yeah, some specific are chosen. I need to choose the ones that were actually run. Okay. Yeah. So this is really useful playbook health monitoring so that you can monitor all your playbooks. If you want to have the data inside of the logs, turn on Azure Diagnostics. But we want to do more with our playbooks, and how we can do it actually. So we are creating our playbook. So what are some tricks that we can utilize when working with playbooks? First one is, let's say, the use of the variables. So variables are really useful if we want to add something later on as a variable, if we want to create the list of the strings of arrays, if we want to utilize the same information few times inside of our playbook. And once when that information is changed, that we don't need to change it on 5, 6, 10 different places, but we change it inside of the variable, and then we can utilize it all the way. Also, really important to know is that we can use dynamic content. So if we have the values and we want to add them, we can utilize the dynamic content. So in this case, we have severity. And we want also to utilize the status. So it is really easy to utilize the dynamic content that is picking up information from that current incident, and it is applying it inside of the variable, and not only inside of the variable, but anywhere inside of the playbooks. It is just important that the dynamic content that we need is actually happening before this action. So I cannot get dynamic content from entities get accounts because that action is happening after. So if I need to do it after it, I actually need to have this variable after entities get account. But sometimes we need to connect two different strings into one and to add that as a field inside of the Sentinel, and logic apps and comments or like specific information that will be sent to us. So what we can utilize there is actually the expressions, and there is a list of all the expressions documented that you can use with logic apps. And here, for example, what I'm doing is grouping together the severity, and then inside of the severity, I am adding actually the severity, and this is actually the severity. So if we take a look at this part, so trigger body, object, properties, severity, it is actually the same as we here. So we can see trigger body, object, properties, severity, and it is actually how it is gone through the body itself. So first step is trigger body, then inside of trigger body you have object. Object then contains properties, and properties contain severity, and then we are getting that severity value. And we will be able to see it once when I choose to show you actual runs. And same thing we are adding now after it status, and we are adding the trigger body again. And here we can see the properties, and the change is that we changed it from severity to status. And if we hover over incident status, we will see the same. So even if, for example, something is not dynamic content, we can call it inside of logic app just by, for example, if there is additional column called name and I want to call it, I can do a trick copying this, marking here. I will remove this, for example, deleting the last curly bracket, delete at and curly bracket at beginning, so making it clear. And then we will say we have status, we have severity, but I have a name that is not called. So I will just change it here from status to name. And even though I don't have dynamic content, using the functions, I can call actually that value inside of my playbook. And here we can see it, trigger body, object, properties, name. Then, of course, we can get like all those entities, but sometimes we need to query our log analytics workspace to get the information. it is possible to do as well from the logic app and playbooks. So you can use Azure Monitor logs and run query and list results. You will be specifying your subscription, you will be specifying your resource group, resource type, resource name, and then you are writing the query. This is actually the query that you are writing inside of your logs, and you will be running it. And then time range that you will be doing the check. But sometimes when you are running these queries, you are not getting the dynamic value. So dynamic value will be, for example, body. So I will get all the fields that are inside of the query. If we are having that kind of situation and we want to parse that data so that we have more usable dynamic query, we are able to use the parse JSON. So data operations parse JSON. We'll be taking the body that we have as a field from here. So when I click here, for example, body, and then I will be copying, or if I know the scheme, I will be taking the scheme and pasting it here. Or before doing this, I will be run, before I adding this parse JSON, I will save it. I will run this playbook. I will get the data here. Then I will go copy that result and use it to build my scheme. So here under use sample payload to generate data, I will pass that scheme. So just to make sure that you understand what I'm speaking about, whenever you are running the playbook, you are getting the results and you are able to check those results for specific information. So in this case, let me go, okay, here. Microsoft Sentinel, cancel this one. So I have here the information, so that is successful. So if I open the successful, I will be able to see the results. So here I will be able to see all the data about my incident, and all the dynamic content that I will be choosing from it. But here, for example, I have run query and list results, and this is the result that I'm getting. So what I'm saying is you go here, you actually copy this part here, and you go back to your logic app designer, parse JSON, use sample payload, paste, and done. So with this, the system will automatically create your scheme for you based on the result that you got from this run query and list result. Sometimes what you will need to do is find required values. And in most cases, they are at the end, so required, and delete some of these. Because now if you don't get that result, the playbook, the action will fail. And actually, you don't want that it fails. So you will go and remove, especially if some of the data is like tenant ID that is actually not needed or something else. So you will actually remove it as required field inside of the parse JSON. So even if it is not there, it will move forward. But there is also one more thing that you can do to make it run further. So if, for example, parse JSON will fail, and we want to continue even if parse JSON fails, what I can do, so next is condition for me. I can click on 3 dots, configure run after, and say that I want that this one runs is successful, parse JSON, but I can also say has failed. And then I will say done. So this, in this case, even if this parse JSON have all these required fields and it fails because something is missing, so it fails, the playbook will not fail, but playbook will continue with next step because we told our condition that, yeah, continue even it fails. And now we are making the conditions, and there are some great tricks that you can do when you are doing conditions. So sometimes you want to say like, hey, if the body is not empty, I want to make it run. So you can say like, if body, the whole body of our run query and these results is not equal to null. And null we are adding actually from expression, and we just write the null. So that it says like, okay, if it is not equal to null, continue. Or we can do another trick and we can say length as a function. and then we are calling the body run query and results value, and then we are saying is equal to 1 in this case. And here we can see like body here, body run query and results. If I choose here value, you can see that it is body run query and results value. So if you are even lazy to write those things, or you don't want to make spelling error because it will affect, you can always go here and just copy and paste in, and make sure that you just delete this curly bracket here and here. Update, and now we have our value. So that is one of the great things. Then we can do, based on the results, we can say, okay, I want to create a HTML table, but I want to make it nice. I want that it marks to some of the entities actually. So I will say like those entities that I already, I'm calling above. I'm so calling it again. Then I'm mapping, and I'm saying like field entity will contain friendly name. And that will be like, is it IP? Is it host? Is it account, URL, email, etc. And here we can see that this is actually not dynamic value. So what I was doing is actually calling item properties friendly name. And it is calling it from the entities itself. And here we can also have entity type, and it is kind. Like those are fields again that we can find inside of our outputs. So if I go and search for the entities, wrong one. So here. So if we go and search for our entities, related entities, we can find here all the information that I'm actually calling for. And we can say like friendly name that I'm already using. And we can see here kind that it is IP friendly name. And this is the friendly name of the IP itself. And then I can utilize create HTML table and call the output of the select. So it will always be the output, and here it is. So it will take the output of the select and it will create HTML table for me, so that I have that really nice look inside of my view. And then I can compose different things as well. So this is again data operations. So I already showed from data operations parse JSON, select, create HTML, and the next one is compose. For example, you saw that I'm using the URLs. So if you are sending the email and you want that it is clickable URL, you actually need to create it inside of the HTML. And the way how you will be doing is using the compose and just adding the incident URL inside of it. And actually, when you are sending the email and you are adding that URLs, you will be adding the output itself. So do I have the URL here? But for example, here it is, incident URL. And I will be just calling compose outputs, and then the URL will be included. What else we can use is the join. For example, this is really useful when you have the arrays and multiple arrays that you need to work with. So using the arrays, you are actually able to get like all those really nice things. But when you are sending the email and sending those arrays, it is complete mess. It is not formatted. It doesn't look nice inside of the email. What we can do actually here is, for example, join. And then I'm calling again the trigger body, and like you can see like the repetition of the things inside of it, the object, the properties, additional data, alert provider product name, and then I'm adding just a clear space as well, so that I get the list of all alert providers. So I will not get all that array details. I will just get alert product name. and it will contain all the alert product name from that specific array. So if we go back to our outputs, and we can see here what I'm mentioning. So the first step was object, and here is the object. Then we have properties under it. Then under properties, we will have additional data. And then under the additional data, we have alert product names. And inside of it, we have Azure Sentinel. If I only called alert product names from the dynamic data, I will be getting it in not so nicely way. The same is with the tactics. And we can see that here it is array. So we are getting the whole array if we are not using the join. And I'm using the same for the tactics here. And this is the example that you can find inside of our send a basic email, send formatted email, send Teams adaptive card on incident creation, etc. What we also can do is also adding send adaptive cards. Actually, there is a blog for this one. I would suggest that you go and read the blog, but this literally explains how you can create and utilize adaptive cards the way that me and Lior utilize it today in a demo. So sending the incident information, asking for input from the users, etc. Adding IP to watchlist incident trigger, there is one thing that I wanted to show inside of this one. The first one is the use of the failed. So if this action fails to continue, because for example, here I'm getting the watchlist by alias, and then it is like if the status code is 200, so it is found, then I will just add IP to a watchlist. But if status code is not 200, actually it will fail this action, and I want that it continues. And in this case, I'm saying here run after even if when it fails, and we will be actually creating the watchlist with data. And here is, for example, how you can utilize initializing the variable, and then adding all the IPs inside of the variable and creating the CSV file that you will be adding in create the output. So here is the IP address I'm adding, creating the CSV with these IPs because it is the append to array variable. This is actually filled inside of the watchlist. And then we are just adding this as a raw content. This is also documented inside of our create watchlist, new watchlist actions blog that you can find on our tech community. The last example I just want to show is how to run playbook from the playbook, thanks to our manual incident trigger. So actually we can if it is complicated playbook and we want to create the new playbook, we want to run the new playbook as a result from the first playbook, we can actually utilize HTTP post, the API, and it is documented inside of our watchlist run playbook from the watchlist, from the workbook, sorry. And how to create it and how to add it. So we are utilizing the same thing, the URI, we are adding subscription ID, resource group, workspace name, and incident ARM name. Then we are adding incident workspace subscription ID and tenant ID inside of our body. And here is the complete body, how it must look. We are using the managed identity, and we need permissions that are Logic App Contributor and Sentinel responder, so that we can actually run this playbook. So we need to assign those permissions to the playbook that will actually run the second playbook. So this specific playbook needs to have those two permissions so that it can run actually the second playbook that will be again incident trigger. So it must be incident trigger. And the last trick that I want to show is how to, like, for example, we have templates and we want to utilize these templates to add to everybody else. We can use Playbook's ARM template generator created by our colleague Srida. Thanks Srida a lot, it is life-saving, and we can actually go and run this playbook template generator that will help us in a few steps to generate the playbook itself. So running, do I want to run it once? Yes. Then I need the tenant ID, which should be inside of my logic app. Okay, and choose correct PowerShell. Okay, I will need to open Azure AD. Sorry about that. It doesn't want to copy from secure string. Do I want to use ARM template for gallery? This actually will create the whole ARM template ready for our gallery. So it will include versioning, it will include like description, etc. So in this case, I want. Do you want to require the Azure model? It's already all for me up to date, so no. If you click yes, it will just update all the AZ models so that it works okay. So now it will import the module. And actually now it will just ask me to select my subscription, the playbooks, so that we can actually create the playbooks templates itself. It will save it locally for me inside of my environment. And then I can just utilize, of course, sign in. I choose different. Like I mentioned, nothing without MFA. So now I'm getting the window that you actually cannot see. And it is saying like, okay, is this your subscription? Yes, okay. Now it will ask me to choose the playbook itself. So I will choose any of it. So this one, okay. And now it is asking where you want to save it. What is the location that you actually want to save it? So I will say this PC local disk C and inside. And it is now generating the whole template. Once when it's done, you will get confirmation that it is done. And if I go back to my environment, to my local folder, and here it is. I can see send adaptive, Azure deploy JSON, and inside of it, we get the whole completed playbook template that we can now just fill in with title, description, if there is any prerequisites or post-deployment steps, when it is last time updated, is it using any entities, who is the author, if you have any additional parameters, like if you have the watchlist alias that you want to enter before the deployment, etc. And you can go and just check the connections, are all connections okay? And go and deploy our, save it and publish it to our GitHub community so that everybody can utilize in the amazing playbook that you created. So that is for me, Jason, back to you.
Great, thank you. We do have a few questions. So the first one is there a way to automate or schedule all hunting queries instead of having to press the Run All Queries button in the portal? We can leverage favorites feature, and as soon as you click hunting from navigation pane, all the favorite queries gets executed automatically.
I will need to double check just is there API for the hunting queries. If there is hunting queries run all features API, then we can utilize it.
Okay, thank you. Next one is, I want to compare two JSON data with two nested for each, but it takes too much time and ends with the message, this session is timed out. Can we change the limitation process time to avoid the error?
we can do some of the manipulations inside of it and add the time. So we will be adding the blog with some tips and tricks, adding the steps that we already covered in the last 20 minutes, but we can add that as well, just to explain how to not reach the timeouts.
Great. The next one is it possible to run a playbook to pull specific data from a query and add it as a comment? Specific example, potential SQL injection alert from Defender. Would it be possible to run a playbook against this alert to pull a suspicious SQL statement and throw it in as a comment for easier processing?
If that suspicious SQL comment is available anywhere, either via API or inside of the incident itself, yes, we can pull it out.
Great. And then the next one is, what is the recommended order for automation rules?
Yeah, that one I started answering before I had to took over. So yeah, so the basic recommendation is the more generic one to put at first, more specific one later. Why? Because when you are running all your automation rules, it will go by order. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. So if you have a first or second rule saying how to close this incident, then in the step 5, you have for the same incident information, tag it and make it as active. So step 2 will close it. Step 5 will open it again and tag it with information that you want. So if you really want that it is auto closed, it should come with one of the latest comments. So if whatever you are doing before, that you make sure that more specific things are at the last point. Or make sure just that you don't include the same incidents where you are choosing this different values. So if you are tagging it differently or make sure that you are always acting on the specific incident. So regular rule of thumb should be more generic first, more specific after it.
Great, thank you. That seems to be all the questions we had left unanswered. So I'd like to thank Benjamin and Lior for being our guests today and for an excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer questions. At the same time, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/securitycommunity. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute submitting your webinar feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.